let me say that also live. I'm very happy to see you again because every 2 weeks that we meet, it's it's a step in time. We are getting forward.
Thank you. Happy to see you too, Alex. How's
Yes,
life? You're in Greece today, aren't you?
I am in Greece today, and I was also in Greece yesterday. I'm in Greece since 1 week now, and I can tell you it's extremely warm. It's like very warm, like almost in the summer. It's
Wow.
insane. It's insane, which I don't think is very healthy to be that warm from the beginning of April. But it's really, you can go with t-shirt and you are fine.
Mm.
It, it's incredible. I don't know how it is in Barcelona.
It's nice also, but there's this cold wind, so you think
Yeah.
it's warm when you go outside. If there wasn't the wind, it would probably be fine to walk around in a t-shirt. Some people are, lots of people are walking around really
Yes.
lightly dressed. I think most of them are tourists, but yeah, you still need a jacket. There's this cold wind that comes from the sea, but not
Yes.
complaining because I know how it's raining in other parts of Europe. So
No, yes, other parts of
enjoying the sun.
I know, because my daughter, she came from Germany and she went back to Germany today, and I know, but here it's fantastic, and I mean, I have to say also one more thing: Greece, what regards food and service, it's way better than Spain.
Oh, really?
It
Interesting.
is, it is the it's big difference.
Okay.
I mean,
So,
I'm just, you know me. I'm trying to be fair. I have to give this credit to Greece. So it's
disagree.
really nice food and the service is very good.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yes, yes. So
Okay,
we chose
today.
today to talk about the fear, how fear can affect you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because I was speaking. What gave me the idea to talk about this? It's because I was speaking to one of my clients last week, and we were talking about what was holding her back from actually leaving a job where she was clearly unhappy and had been unhappy for a long time. And it's someone who's smart, who has who's had a great career, who has loads of competence competence.
Mm,
She's very qualified. She's very good at what she does. She can be a great catch for anybody. But she herself doesn't believe that, and she's afraid. But she couldn't. When we started talking about what she was afraid of, it was very she wasn't able to give me like a clear example of what she was afraid. She was like, well, I don't know if I'll find something. I I'm not sure my skills are transferable. And I mean, all this is in her head. Like, it's all limiting beliefs that are holding her back from from actually moving forward. And because of that, she's in a job that's making her unhappy. Her boss is, she's not getting on with her boss and all that. And I was thinking back on that and realizing that a lot of people that I speak to and my clients have these different fears that hold them back often. And I think it's probably the same in sales, because I speak to entrepreneurs who are afraid to actually sell. I
yes.
met someone Saturday evening, and we were talking about things we're good at and things we're not good at. And he was like, I'm really bad at selling. And I said, but what do you do for a living? He said, well, I have to sell. I have my own business and I have to sell. But again, it was a fear that was holding him back. So it was really interesting topic I thought that we could talk about today.
Yes. Yes. I remember when I started my own business. So I grew up on an environment that I was, uh, let's say, raised up from my parents to become an employee. So when I created my own business many years ago, so in the year 2000, I opened my own business. It was a very big step forward uh, for me. It was I couldn't sleep for weeks I was so much afraid. I was thinking about so many things. And what regards sales, that's also something that a lot of people are afraid. They are afraid of rejection, or they are afraid because they were raised on 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 demonizing profit, and on demonizing pursuing,
Funny.
yes,
Yeah.
pursuing them like gaining something. And I think it's something that you need to meditate on that, and understand it's nothing wrong with that. And growth is outside of the comfort zone, Maria. And
Yes.
many people don't dare to go outside of their comfort zone, and they stay trapped uh, in a life that they could have much more in their life. And it's a pity.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Everything is psychological, as you said, the limiting
Oh,
beliefs, everything
absolutely.
is, almost everything is psychological. You
Yeah.
limit
No,
yourself. Exactly.
yeah, and I had that. I had that myself. I For years I avoided public speaking. I mean, for as much as I could, and I my career was growing. And for some reason, luckily, I was in an industry where there were lots of other people who were more than happy to put themselves forward. So I would let them go. But I got to a point in my career where I couldn't hide anymore. I got to a point where I was at the top and I was expected to speak in front of big groups of people, in front of the board, the chairman, and suddenly I was like, oh my god, what do I do now? I can't hide anymore. And I remember when I got promoted to in New York, I got this job, a big job in New York, and my boss, who I told that I had this fear of public speaking, took me and said, okay, you're going to be running, you're going to be presenting in front of all the chairmans on our, we were doing a big company retreat. You're going to be presenting in front of all the chairmans on this subject. And I went into his office. I said this in front of everybody. And I went into his office afterwards. I said, you do remember I told you that I don't do public speaking. So if it's okay, I'm going to ask Marcus to do this one. And he looked at me and said, no, you're doing it. And thank God he did that, because he pushed me. I had no choice. I had to do it. I never learned how to do it. That's my mistake. If I'd been smart and I'd like joined Toastmasters long before, I would have been prepared. But basically, I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. And I thought I was going to die the first 5 minutes I was there speaking. But then I survived, and I realized it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was. And I decided from there on to take on as many opportunities that I could to speak in front of groups of people. So I volunteered for like for the interns day, for any new employees day, anything that there was an opportunity to speak in front of a group of people, I was like, I'll do it, just to get over and to get used to it. But for years I didn't do it, and I think I missed a lot of opportunities, and that fear of speaking really held me back. I think I could have probably gone quicker in my career if I hadn't let that fear dictate me. And I think that's what happens with a lot of my clients. They let the fear of like making mistakes, of failing, of being criticized or judged, or the fear of losing control of a situation means that they micromanage, or their fear of confrontation means that they won't have the difficult conversations. There's so many of these different fears that can stop you in your career and hold you back from, becoming better and growing, as you were saying.
And what is the antidote for you? Because you are talking about the fears, and why, Maria, you think, what was the thing that helped you overcome your fears?
Well, I decided that if I wanted to overcome it, I had to do it. You have to confront your fears. So I decided I'm going to practice. I'm going to do as much as I can. And as you said, I stepped outside my comfort zone. I reframed it also. I mean, by the hardest is the first step. It's
Yes.
that first step where you stand and you do it the first time. Because once you've done it, you realize that actually, you know what? It's all up here.
Yes.
It's nobody was going to take out a gun and shoot at me or nothing. You know, what's the worst that could happen? And that's often something I ask my clients, say, okay, so what's the worst thing that could happen if you do this? And when they start thinking about it, like, actually, yeah, my brain is telling me one thing, but the reality is probably not as bad. And so I think it's reframing maybe things or taking a little step. I'd say the first step, it's just take that first step, no matter how small it is, like mini step, just to get started, and then you get over it.
I think I have to say here two things. So the one thing is that in sales, okay, I see people think like the good salesperson is this overconfident guy that knows about the product, he can answer all the questions, but they don't realize that if you have a simple, you are a person that doesn't know everything so perfect, but you are humane.
Mhm.
That's somebody that I would like to hear from, because all of us,
Yeah.
we have insecurities, we have uh, thoughts, we have things where we are not good, and that humane face makes you more sympathetic, and I would trust to buy from a human being with mistakes than from the super Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, the Mr. Perfect makes you think about the sleazy sales guy, right? And I had that experience recently where I had somebody who was clearly very good at that whole sales pitch, but it was so intense that it just at one point I was like, whoa, you know, back off.
Yes.
You know, it just felt super aggressive. And the other thing is I could see the techniques he was using. So I knew all these because I've learned them obviously in my job. And I could see every single, like it was like he was doing this and then he was doing that and then he was doing this and then and he would say this to make me say that. And I could just see it. And I felt like, do you think I'm a moron? And it just really made me angry because I felt like he's trying to manipulate me because I knew what he was up to. And it just really, even though what he was trying to sell seemed interesting, it just like, I was like, you know what? I don't like you. So because of that, I'm not even going to consider it. And I think that's really an important thing to remember, especially in sales. But I think in leadership, it's the same thing. You're selling to people, you're leading people. And if you can't build a relationship that seems genuine,
Yes.
that's not like you feel like the person's not trying to get something out of you. I mean, obviously, it's always transactional, but there's a way of doing it in a genuine way with integrity, and there's a way of doing it in a
But I
sleazy
think
way.
it's a lot of, people are getting bombarded with all the details. Like you said, the other guy was using this technique and that technique. At the bottom line, I mean, yes, I understand these communication tactics. Let's say I don't want to say they are useless, but um, stay on the humane part. Come on, everybody knows that's a transactional conversation, and
Yeah.
that's okay. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with that. So let's stay on the humane. And
Mm.
what helped me personally a lot is that we all want to be things. We want to be like this, we want to be like that, but we are not. And to give you an example is, it's like when you gain weight and you push your trouser and it doesn't really close and you make, oh, now you
Yep.
gain like 5 kilos, it
Been there.
doesn't fit anymore. Relax.
Yeah. Very familiar.
Yes, you cannot hide. You cannot hide that and say,
Yeah.
okay, listen,
Yeah.
I am Alex.
That's true.
I'm good on this and this and that. I'm not very good on
Yeah.
those things. I'm aware it is what it is. And that's it. And now, would you like to talk with me about that or should we skip it? And done. And that's it. Because the other guy that's going to come, again, he's going to have his flaws. He's not going to be as good as I am in many things. He's going to be much better in other things. We are humans. And the expectations that they are being put, I see people on interviews, they try to show their best self. Show me
Well, we
your
all
best
do that,
self.
right?
Tell me who you are. Come on. And let's see. Let's take it from there. Because anyway, I will
I,
see through you if you pretend to be
yeah.
somebody that you are not. And
I think it has to do with insecurities a little bit also, because it's easier to put on a role or something. I think especially when you're online or you're doing, you're filming or you're trying to impress somebody, it's easier to have this sort of shield, this like armor around you of the perfect person than to show yourself, because otherwise, it's you might not think that you're perfect, and nobody is, but your imperfections might hinder you in whether it's your sale or your leadership sides. And I think it's about embracing, as you were saying, embracing those imperfections. And I mean, I never hid that I wasn't a numbers person ever, but I was managing a 500 million budget.
yes,
but but I knew that I wasn't a numbers person, so I made sure I had somebody that was really good at numbers working with me closely. And if somebody, the CEO or somebody, asked me a number and that person wasn't there and I didn't know, I'd say, listen, I'll have to get back to you on that one because I don't know. But I wasn't hired to be the CFO of the company. I was hired to manage the business, and that I could do. So it's about acknowledging what knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are,
and there's
and not
there's
being
nothing
afraid
wrong with
to,
that. There's nothing
yeah,
wrong with with your weaknesses. Everybody has weaknesses, and it's fine to say, look, I'm not good on that. I failed on those things, but I
yeah,
think I'm good on those things. So, and always leave the decision to the other person. So never, I, I was a guy that was always, I was pushing sales. So there came a year where I said, okay, this year I will not, uh, I will be more relaxed. I will not push. Um, so to give you an example on pushing, so you call somebody and says, well, I don't want to buy now. And then you start like, why you don't want to buy now?
yeah.
Okay, but you,
Why?
yes,
But
and you start all these things and you start to say, but the offer is valid until another 3 days and we're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
miss
yeah,
it. And so, I mean, that's an example. So stay a little bit more back and say, okay, you don't want to buy now. Okay, let's leave it for now. So when I applied these tactics, I sold 16% less than I sold the year before. But
when you applied which technique, to
yes,
step back.
when I stepped back and I said, okay,
Mm,
let me not start with those why you don't want, and let me call you tomorrow, and let
yeah,
me
yeah,
push it, push it,
yeah,
push it, push it, push it. So
yeah.
when I stopped
So
the
it's
push it, push it, push it, and I stepped back, what happened was that I sold at the end of the year 16% less, but with 80% less effort. So with 20%
oh,
of my engagement, I sold almost as many things as I sold the year before with with 5 times more effort.
yeah,
So the value at the end was much bigger. So I achieved way
yeah,
more with way
hmm,
less effort.
yeah,
And I realized, okay, so, and if you let the other person accept the no doesn't mean you should be let sales slip away, but be more relaxed, accept the no. Then you add value to yourself as well, and at the end you sell better. You become a better salesperson by leaving the freedom to your client. The free, always he has the freedom, but you lose in certain things, but you gain in other things. So it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And be more relaxed at the end.
Yeah.
And that gives also the confidence. So if you say, okay, look, that's who I am, so that's it, then you become also more confident because you have nothing more to hide. People are trying to hide things, like people are trying also to close the button of the trouser, although they gain 5 kilo. I mean, you have this 5 kilo with button or with no button, you are fatter, period. Yeah. So you are Alex. You speak English with an accent. I mean, what should I do now? I cannot change that. It is what it is. If that is something that bothers you that much and you need the Oxford English, then I'm not a fit for you. It's simple, and that's fine.
Yeah. I think it's accepting that, you're not going to please everybody. You're not going to get on with everybody in life, and whether it's sales or leadership, not everybody's going to like you. Some people struggle with that, people not liking them, and you have to get over yourself, and you have to just let go of that.
What you say about people not liking you, if you are a good salesperson, many people are not going to like you. That's guaranteed. If people like you, then you are not a good salesperson. And there is a reason why. Because a good salesperson, in a sales situation, there is conflict of interests. So you want to buy as many things as cheap as possible, while I want to sell you as more expensive as possible. So there is a conflict of interest. And you have to deal with the conflict of interest. If you cannot deal with the conflict of interest, which equals you are not going to be likable anymore, then you are good for a customer support agent because you want to make everybody happy. You want to please people. A good salesperson doesn't please people.
Yeah, those are the ones that then give away stuff for free that they wouldn't have. They shouldn't.
Well,
right?
when it comes I give you for free, then you start in a way begging for the other person to have.
You're opening you're going down the train.
You go down. Yeah. I'm against the offering for free. Make myself very likable to you. I don't want that.
I don't want you to like me. No. But I disagree that it has to be a confrontation, because it can also be you're offering something, whether a service. You're offering a service, the person needs it or doesn't, and you agree or not on a price. It doesn't have to be a confrontation. It is what it is. You go through the motions of like, this is the service I'm offering. This is what I'm looking for. Is this what you need? Does this work for you? Is the price good? Are we happy? Is the price? It's more the value. Do you feel like you're getting the value for what you're looking for? And then in that case, I don't feel that there's so much of a confrontation.
But I didn't speak about confrontation. I spoke about conflict of interest.
Oh, sorry, conflict of interest.
So the conflict of interest is there. Now, it doesn't need to lead to a confrontation.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean confrontation. Conflict of interest. But where's the conflict of interest there? You have a product, you're selling at a certain price. You have a person who's looking for a service. It might or it might not. There's so many things that make that this person might choose it. It might be the right service, not the right service. They might like you, they might not like you, because there's a big factor of trusting the person who's trying to sell you a service. But there doesn't need to be a conflict of interest there, right?
No, Maria, I don't agree with that. The conflict of interest is always there. There is always a conflict of interest, because you have also a profit margin. So now, how willing are you to negotiate your personal gain?
Well, if you're not, if you have a fixed price and you're not negotiating, that's this is the price, this is what I'm selling.
But the conflict of interest doesn't need to lead to a confrontation. So if the other person says, well, it's too expensive for me, that's fine. We are friends, so
Yeah.
not a problem. But I cannot offer that in a
Yeah.
less price.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm against the confrontation. It's not a confrontation.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I didn't mean
Yes.
confrontation. I got my words
Um,
mixed up.
but of course, people also uh, don't understand that the market price and the economy, it's an organism that has a life, an autonomous life. It lives by itself.
Hmm.
So there is a certain value for things, certain price for things, which is dictated from the market. So there is a free market. Let's say somebody wants to buy a car. That car costs, let's say, 15,000 euros. That's the price of the car. So I cannot sell it less because
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
will get that money from the other person. Uh,
Yeah.
and that is nothing personal. Doesn't have to do with me. Doesn't have to do with you. That's the market price. Um, so and many people are getting like confused. They think it's personal. They think, well, but it is not.
But it goes back to the emotional a bit
Yes.
again. So that's the fear of rejection because they take it personally. And I think there's also something to do with money mindset. I think you sort of touched on that earlier on, where we've grown up. I mean, at least I have, I
Yes.
know, and probably you too. And I think a lot of the um, Christian world has grown up with this money mindset that money is it's greedy. It's you don't talk about money at
Yes.
home. It's it has a very negative consonance, and so when it comes to asking for money, we're afraid that people are going to judge us or we're going to look silly. I mean, there's a big thing. I think there's a big blocker there for many people around that
Absolutely.
subject.
Christian ethics, it's a big blocker. And
Mm.
I mean, okay, we go on another discussion and on another topic, but there is this parable of Jesus and the rich man that he tells him, get rid of your property. I mean, this it never
Yes, that's yeah.
for me it was very difficult to digest that. I mean,
Hmm.
how you expect him to do that? But if we go, which is the guy that I never liked in literature, and that's
No.
the Robin Hood. Robin Hood. I
Oh, I
hated.
loved
I
Robin Hood.
hated
Why?
how
He's taking from the rich to give to the
exactly.
poor.
So this guy is in the woods with his drunk friends, and they are drinking beer all the day. And he goes,
They're squatters. The squatting in the woods
yes,
and stealing
and he
everybody's.
goes to the rich guy that worked all his life to make money, and he steals his money to
Yeah, I think in this story, the rich guy who didn't really work all his life, he stole the money from other people. He was a bad rich. I think the fact that he was a bad
yes,
rich guy
yes,
was good
yes,
enough. I mean,
yes.
but I understand
No,
what
no,
you're saying, and I
I'm a
agree.
little bit.
I
I'm
mean, in
joking a little bit
principle,
because
yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah,
I had the same discussion with my wife, and she told me exactly the same, and I agree with you.
yeah.
I mean,
How dare you could criticize Robin
yes,
Hood,
yes, yes, yes,
my
yes,
hero?
yes. But I mean, I agree. I mean, the normally rich guys are the bad guys, But I mean,
That's not true,
it's
but
not it's
in
not
in
true, but
movies,
sometimes
in
they are,
movies, in
you
movies,
know. And in that case, most probably
sometimes
they
they are.
were. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
but
yeah. Definitely in Robin Hood, they weren't nice.
yes, exactly. So what I want to say is all this mentality of the poor are good and the rich are bad, and all this.
Mm.
It's. I mean, I think there is some point of true on all those things, but again, in today's world, I don't think it's anymore that accurate.
Yeah, but it explains these blockers and fears that we have to talk about money, to ask for the sale, to ask for a raise, like silly thing, but going and asking for a raise. lots of people really struggle with that.
But I saw, because what I see, I saw it with my daughter that she works in Germany, and then they came to her and they offered her a raise by themselves. Why?
Yeah,
Why did they do that? Because they are nice? No, because through her experience, she gains on market value, and they know that if they don't give her a raise, somebody else is going to come to give her a raise, and they're going to take her away.
Well, good for them.
So,
but good for them for noticing it and doing it proactively rather than waiting for her to hand in her notice to do it, because that happens very often.
That happens very often. But I think...
Oh, it happens a lot.
Yes, but what I think, Maria, is that every organization, it's the management and the head of the organization is the one that dictates also the culture of the organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I saw that many times in my life. So you went to a business where everybody was unpolite, the receptionist was rude, and
they're not well treated, they're not well paid, so they treat their clients the same way they're treated.
But and you go and you meet the management, and they are again the same people that you don't like.
Yeah.
And you go somewhere where the receptionist is nice and the people are friendly, and then the owner is a very nice guy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no secret there. Yeah. Okay, so do you have one tip for somebody who has some blocker or some fear holding them back in sales? Do you have one thing you recommend?
Yes, I recommend one thing. Meditate on who you are, understand who you are, understand who you are not, and go outside and say, hey guys, that's who I am, and I want to talk about that. Are you interested in listening? And if you cannot talk clearly because you are stressed, even better. You give a humane face. I like you, and I will listen to you, and I will buy from you because you are a nice person. That's what I have to say.
Okay. And I would say in leadership, I mean, there's a lot of things that can hold people back. For me, being prepared. So if it's public speaking, practice your presentations. If you're afraid of confrontation, start with the smallest ones. So take little steps to get there. So if you're afraid of confrontation and you need to have a difficult conversation with one of your employees, maybe start with something that's less high stake. Have practice again doing difficult conversations on lower stake items that, maybe you're going to have to tell this person that they have to move their holiday rather than telling this paid person that they're not going to get their promotion or their raise, or, so start small, but take that first step. Basically, that's my recommendation.
The first step is,
and if you don't know how to do it, ask for help, get feedback, get help. We don't need to do anything alone in this world, and there's loads of people that's done it before you. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes, and as you say, make the first step, and don't worry, it's okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Excellent. So I enjoyed very much our conversation, and I will be very happy to talk to you again in 2 weeks. So the summer is coming, and I think everybody should be happier for that.
Yes, spring has definitely arrived.
Yes, here too. Here we skipped spring. We were
summer direct.
We were thrown directly to the summer, so with no spring in between. Yeah.
Okay. Speak to you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Maria. Bye-bye.